Hi, folks. This is Joe Firestone for Empowering Democracy. And this, of course, is Ejection Day. You see, I gave it a new name this afternoon, especially for the midterms. Thank you for coming. And thank you for voting either early or voting today. If you did vote, that is very good. I think I'm a little premature with this particular stream because the only early indications I have is that voting has been heavy in the New Mexico precinct I saw. It was heavy in California. It seems to be heavy in Pennsylvania so far from what I saw. So voting is heavy. I don't know if I can say any more about key races, but maybe you can tell me more. I certainly hope you can. I see Steve Wolfbrand is here. Steve, how's it going in California? And Dolores, hello, I'm so glad you're here. That reminds me that I should share this stream myself.
Because you had a package. Well, thank you so much. You're welcome. Is there something on it? Juice that.
No, I just am doing a bit of sharing. And I'm going right back. I take it that a package has arrived.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Kay. It's great to see you. And Dolores is here, both as herself and representing Around the World with Brandy and Dee, a very exciting new series, which she and Brandy recently started. Okay, Dolores Pierce and Brandy Weaver, that is. Yeah, friends of this show and friends of our common efforts, okay, at Medicare for All. And so you should take in their show. First few episodes have been very, very good. I haven't always been able to see them live, but I have been able to take them in later. Anyway, back to the election. Most of the prognosticators are saying the Democrats will lose the House and that they may or may not win the Senate, that it seems to be too close to call at this point, but that the trends have all been in favor of the Republicans in these final closing days. Now, there was quite a lot of activity on the Democratic side over this past weekend. Activity from Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders, okay, as well. activity from the candidates themselves. John Fetterman was working particularly hard in Pennsylvania, as also Chris Deluzio was, and I'm sure Summerlee, as well. People working as hard as they can. This last swing across Pennsylvania by John Fetterman was certainly a particularly inspiring swing. But of course, we have no idea whether these efforts have been successful. Just before I came on, I was watching a Status Coup. They had an observer at the rally for John Fetterman in Pittsburgh, which is live and is going on right now. I was just in time to see Giselle Fetterman get on stage and say a few things. I did not see John take the stage, and some of you may be seeing that, I hope. Now, please also share, like, and subscribe. It's important if you like, because that gets more viewers. So please do like. I will appreciate that very much. And one more thing, of course, please don't forget my Patreon account and my Buy Me a Coffee account, because that's how we stay alive here with those two accounts. That's how we will grow, and that's how we're able to continue these really great streams that we've been doing. I think they're really great. In any case, Steve says, Steve Wolfbrand said, seems okay out here, Joe. Our mayor's race is neck and neck. Yes. Another race between a regular, normal politician, one who has been more friendly than most to workers and to the have-nots in this country for a very long time, but someone who has taken some money from special interests. She relies on small dollar donations, but she also relies on some donations from larger interests, some of the big money. She does take it. On the other hand, she is running against a billionaire, a real estate billionaire. The personification of the billionaire class himself. Not the only personification, but some of them have decided that they're going to take a direct hand themselves and become our representatives. And of course, there are a few of them across the nation who are funding their own campaigns. Now, they often say that they won't be selling out to the oligarchy because nobody can buy them. But it's also true that they are the oligarchy. So the oligarchy but doesn't have to buy them. Yes, Steve Wolfbrand, around the world with Brandy and Dee is a YouTube channel. It is a YouTube channel. I have been there. So it's Around the World with Brandy and Dee. So you should be able to find it there. So I can't really tell you much about the early indications right now. I don't think I'm going to try any more than I have. I'll simply watch for other things that are coming up while we're on. But there was one other thing that I thought it would be good to talk about. I just discovered something from Dahlia Litwick, who was on Reader Supported News. And I'm going to go ahead and share that with you. This one is called "The Only Way to Navigate the Election Storm Ahead." It was originally at Slate, and it's by Dahlia Litwick, who was a very, very good commentator, usually on the courts. But here, of course, she is commenting on the broader issues of democracy. So this article, of course, is perfectly appropriate for this show. So let me get it in here. Okay, there it is. That, of course, is pictures of voters at a polling place. This was written on the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day. It is easy to feel despair. The folks who keep disparaging those who worry about the future of democracy seem uninterested in the fact that one party refuses to accept election results, inflames election violence, admits the entire plan is one party rule, and brushes off and even jokes about vigilante violence. Those same people have been adept at pushing us into semantic arguments about whether we're using the right words to describe what we see happening right before our eyes. This coming up, I think, is a really good point. The problem with wasting our time fighting about whether the best word to use in this particular situation is, quote, authoritarianism, unquote, or, quote, fascism, unquote, or vigilantism, quote, unquote, or lawlessness, quote, unquote, is that such things can often only ever be empirically established in retrospect. We can hold the "I told you so" Olympics in 10 years. Let's get that on the books. Call it whatever you like. But this speedy descent into a world in which people who are fundamentally unethical and unserious hold too many levers of power is not normal, and it's not funny. Even for the people striving to find meaning and purpose in the ugliness, the temptation to cede ground, give up, and go small is alluring. That they want you to cede ground, give up, and go small is in fact the problem we can name right now. My rabbi recently reminded me of a useful way to think about the fog. Citing another spiritual hero last weekend, whose name is Aurora Levins Morales, she reminded me that there is always a difference between the weather and the stars. Specifically, Morales, teaching in 2017, warned that it is too easy to be buffered by the changeable weather, and in so doing to lose sight of the immutable stars. The stars in this telling are a, quote, constant to steer by, sometimes hidden by storm clouds, but high above them, untouched by wind or rain. The weather is different, conceded Morales. Can be, quote, violent, drenching, harsh, unquote. But it isn't constant. If we do nothing but chase and feel the weather, she wrote, quote, we could spin forever from emergency to emergency, shouting no to each new crime, but that would be steering by chasing clouds. And Morales posited an alternative. We need to step into the calm eye of the storm and steer by the stars to imagine in rich detail the biggest, most delicious, satisfying, inclusive future that we can. A great flowering of human potential and well-being. We must also project our hearts and minds into the future and then spend our lives walking toward it. And each time the weather buffets us, wait for a glimpse of sky, find that bright point of light, and adjust our course. Unquote. I spent the week before midterm elections that could help determine the fate of democracy in the United States, trying to pick my own way through a careening mess of the world into those buckets. Weather versus star. Elon Musk is weather. So is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Tucker Carlson is weather. Even losing tens and thousands of followers on Twitter is respectfully just weather. It all matters, sure, and it's all painful, but it's a series of transient states to distract you from what is real. Stars are the things that don't ebb and flow with the showy Twitter feuds or the mutable hourly outrages or public performances of ghastly daily mediocrity. For some of us, the stars of the upcoming elections and the extraordinary acts of voter registration, postcarding, election protection, and democratic engagement. For some of us, the stars are the law, the rule of law, and the efforts to bring accountability for lawbreaking. For some of us, the stars are efforts to build a tolerant, a pluralist world in the face of rising racial and religious intolerance and xenophobia. Stars are and will always be caring for the orphans and the widows. People are doing good work everywhere, as Mr. Rogers would have advised. Look for the helpers. As we move through the frightening and destabilizing days to come, the weather will attempt to consume more and more of your time and attention and energy. Fascists will tweet more fascism to try to distract you from the impacts of their fascism. My entirely inadequate advice will remain unchanged. Sit in the foulness of the roiling storm and do your work, whatever that may be, and triangulate by the light of whatever star feels eternal to you. Take care of your family. They need you. And take care of your health. Take care of your community. It needs you. And take care of someone in your community who doesn't know Twitter is even a thing. Vote. Help others vote. Register voters. Staff voter protection hotlines. Place your own body between someone unkind and someone vulnerable. Read a book. I have to interrupt to say, read one of my books. Help a kid. Give someone food and love and respect. Donate something you don't use. Ask for help. Don't give your time or attention to anything small enough to diminish you along with it. Where in the weather and the temptation to do nothing but talk about the weather is fierce. But above and beyond, there are still fixed and immutable values and principles that we must try as best we can to steer by those things instead. As one of my own fixed stars, that is Aurora Levins Morales, urged us and urges us still, quote, don't waver. Don't let despair sink its sharp teeth into the throat with which you sing. Escalate your dreams. Make them burn so fiercely that you could follow them down any dark alleyway of history and not lose your way. Make them burn clear as a starry drinking gourd over the grim fog of exhaustion, and keep on walking. You won't be able to see them, but the stars are still there, and we will get through the storms ahead, even if we don't yet actually believe it, because the storms are not the story. We are the story. Keep looking up. I thought that on the eve of this election, it was appropriate to share that very eloquent piece with you. Uh, Sometimes it's hard for me to keep looking at the stars. But I try to do that too. I try to look at the things that stick out for me. And one of those things is the need for democracy and the need to try to save it in this country. It's important to save it in this country because this country is so important. But there are other democracies in the world, today. If the light of democracy goes out here, and I don't suggest it's going to go out with this election or with the result, of this election. It may be that the fascists are defeated in this election, but they won't stop. They'll still be there. Their movement will still be there. And the struggles will keep on coming for some time until the fascist movement gets tired and begins to recede. But right now, the fascist waves are nearing their peak or at their peak. And we have to keep on fighting, whatever the result of this election is. We have to keep on contributing. We have to keep to our organizing, whatever organizing we do. We have to keep on keeping on. That is just extremely important. Steve Wolbrand says Breaking Points will start covering the election at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Breaking Points will do a good job. I'll probably be there seeing what they have to say myself for some time. As you know, I'll be coming back at 9 p.m. to bring some of my own interpretations. But when you're watching Breaking Points, watch out, because they have great joy, kind of, in watching the elections themselves and the results and how the results come in and whether the results are in accordance with their predictions or not in accordance with their predictions. They are professionals in looking at the politics and watching the politics. And for them, the important thing is the politics itself and its dynamic, okay, and it's back and forth. But this series looks at these things from the standpoint of empowering democracy. It has an agenda that doesn't just involve covering the news, even though, of course, we do that every day, 3 times a day. But still, we are looking at it from the point of view of what's happening to democracy and how we can strengthen it. Please keep that outlook in mind when you watch Breaking Points or some of these other programs tonight, because they may not reflect the urgency that is reflected here when it comes to getting to democracy. I'm not talking about saving our democracy here, because we don't have a democracy. We know we don't have a democracy. We know we lost that some time ago. We maybe can't put a point on when it was we lost that, but there were many key events. We know as a process we have lost it, and that now we have an oligarchy and we are trying to empower democracy. Again, I'm not saying get back democracy, because I'm not prepared to say that we ever fully had it, but we lost the modicum of it we had sometime during the last 30, 40 years or so as neoliberalism took over the United States. However, the key point is that as we try to empower democracy, move closer to achieving it, and finally getting real close to achieve it, as we will have to do over the next 3 cycles or 4 cycles or 5 cycles, in order to empower ourselves to cope with and manage the climate crisis and create a decent healthcare system in this country. As all this is going on, we will have to fight against the enemy, which is fascism, and which is the attempts of the fascists to drag us away from the process of empowering democracy. So on the eve of this election, that is my message to you. And that is what I think is coming. over the coming years. Anyway, I hope to see you all again, okay, at 9 p.m. I will have watched the Breaking Point show and a number of other shows as well to try to get a sense of what is happening. So, I'll see you then, okay, at 9 p.m. For now, okay, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you very much for coming.